right. Welcome to Lunchtime Topics. I'm Kate with the Creative Coast. I see a lot of new faces here watching live. We're so glad to have you. If this is your first time attending a Lunchtime Topic or watching, Lunchtime Topics is a free educational program of the Creative Coast, a 501c3 nonprofit in Savannah. And during this program, we feature business experts across industries who share their knowledge with the region's startup and innovative community. Today, we're welcoming Ilise Benun back to Lunchtime Topics. She is the founder of marketingmentor.com, which is the go-to online resource for creative professionals who want better projects with bigger budgets. And through that, she offers business coaching to small groups and one-on-one. She's also a national speaker and author of 7 books, including The Creative Professional's Guide to Money, 3 online courses via Creative Live, and the Simplest Marketing Plan. All of these are tailored to the needs of creative professionals like yourselves. Since 2008, she has hosted the Marketing Mentor podcast as well. So we'll have to go watch that. That's actually how I found her for this talk today. Although we have worked together in the past on multiple, on other lunchtime topics and speaking opportunities. So Ilise is joining us today to talk about feast or famine syndrome and how to get rid of it for good. Whether you're new to freelancing or entrepreneurship, or you've been at it for a while, you know all too well what it is. If you're here, you know what it is. For those of you who may not know, though, and you're watching later, feast or famine means you're either crazy busy with client work or you just don't have enough to do and you're trying to figure out how to balance it all and all of this. So Ilise has been self-employed for 30 plus years and has tons of experience with this. And her goal for today is to give us the tools we need to get rid of this feast or famine feeling for good. So without further ado, I'm going to go dark and give the platform to Ilise, who will share her presentation.
Thank you so much, Kate, and thank you for the invitation and welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining live today. Here we have a beautiful day here in Savannah. And I guess, before I share my screen and start the presentation, I'll just give you the answer to the question, how do you avoid feast or famine forever? It really is about marketing and learning how to control the flow. And that takes time, but I am going to give you some of the tools that I've learned by doing it myself and also by helping my clients do it for the last 30 plus years. So I am going to share my screen, and this presentation, the PowerPoint for it will be available at the end. I'll give you the link to it where you can download it. All right, so how to avoid feast or famine forever. And I think Kate covered all of the main points in my bio. I'm a business coach. I work exclusively with what I call creative professionals, and you self-identify as a creative. So if you feel like you're a creative, then I'm sure I can help you. I've written several books, including The Creative Professional's Guide to Money, and I'm the host of the Marketing Mentor podcast. So as with everything, avoiding feast or famine starts with your mindset. And it also ends with your mindset. So I have a few ideas I want to share about mindset. And the first is that your business is a laboratory for your personal growth. I mean, it's obvious that your business is a laboratory for your professional growth, but it's a slight mind shift to think about it as a lab for your personal growth as well. And that has been the watchword, the format that I've used over most of my career. And it has really helped me because what it means is that when you use your business as a lab, that means you can experiment and you can test things and you can practice all sorts of things, new skills, new ways of looking at things, reframing, new things you want to learn, new PowerPoints. In fact, this PowerPoint is an experiment as well. I like to change things up on the day of the presentation. So I spent about an hour this morning adding some new ideas to this presentation. So we'll see how it works. And I think the point to make there also about experimenting is that you will make mistakes. Count on making mistakes. That's how you will learn. So some of the skills that I think are really important as a business owner, as a solopreneur, as a creative professional is no matter what service you're offering, you need to be able to listen well, because most people are not listening, and you need to be able to communicate clearly. And that is something I have been practicing over most of my career and still continue to practice because things are constantly changing. And that's why I love having the business as a lab. And needless to say, it does ripple into the rest of your life as well. And I think that is one of the byproducts and the benefits of it. This is the experimental part. I've been thinking this week, and I posted this on LinkedIn late last night, actually, about being bossy as a child, because I was definitely bossy as a child. They called me bossy, but actually, it really serves me well now to be a little bossy. And so if you were bossy, or if there are certain qualities from your childhood that were punished, let's say, then maybe you can reframe the way you think about those qualities and they can serve you today. And I'll show you how bossiness is serving me today. I've kind of reframed it as basically learning how to take responsibility for everything that happens in my life and in my business, right? Because telling people what to do is one thing, and then taking responsibility for everything that happens is a totally other thing, but it's part of being the boss. And I do remember constantly saying to my parents, "You're not the boss of me." I'm sure a lot of people said that. And of course, they said, "Yes, we are, as long as you live in this house." And then I got out of the house as quickly as I possibly could. But bossiness has also helped me in terms of leadership opportunities, because people step into a vacuum of leadership if they have this bossiness, potentially. And that is always good for avoiding feast or famine. And to me, the epitome of business ownership is autonomy. And that is really how you avoid feast or famine, is you become autonomous, which to me means I don't need any one particular client or project or situation to happen. If anything changes, and it is constantly changing, and I lose something, a big client, a little client, it's fine, because of my marketing, because of how I put myself out into the world, then there are always many opportunities. And that allows me to choose to be autonomous and be the one who chooses. Do I want to do this? Do I want to work with this person? Right? So that is all a result of using my business as a laboratory for my personal growth. And when you do that, when you use your business well, when you do your business well, literally, it will take care of you. It will take care of you. And that is a beautiful thing. And the people who are totally stressed out by their business need to learn how to better take care of the business so that the business will take care of you. That's the first mindset shift. The second one is that relationships are everything. And everybody kind of knows this. In business, relationships are everything. In life, relationships are everything. And it is all about who you know, and it's all about who knows you, even if you don't know them. And so often when you're just starting out, it's important to build on the foundation that already exists. Certainly, if you've had a career and this is a career change, or if you've had clients, or if you've had a job, you have a foundation to build on and people who already know you. And so even if you don't want to be in that industry anymore, it's really important to start with what already exists. And then you cultivate relationships with curiosity. I like to talk about curiosity as a marketing tool, and I will a little bit later as well. But just know that one of the ways to cultivate these relationships is with curiosity, with questions. I like to say that questions are the answer to everything. And what that means is when someone asks you a question, or you anticipate a question that you're not going to know the answer to, and therefore you don't put yourself in a certain situation because you don't know all the answers, the solution is more questions. So be ready to listen and respond with questions, even if you don't know the answer. And that's one of the ways that you cultivate relationships and use curiosity to do that. The third idea is that your self-promotion is not about you. And this may sound a little bit like a contradiction or a paradox, but I promise you, good marketing is not about you. It's about your client. It's about your prospect. And it's ideally about your ideal client, the one who is the perfect fit for you. And sometimes it takes a while to figure out who that person is. But one way to figure that out is to begin to learn to think from your ideal client's perspective. And here's a small example of that, which I will bring back later also. It's the difference between here's what I or we know all about, that's thinking from your perspective, versus here's what I or we know you are struggling with. That's thinking about it from your client's perspective. And it's very difficult. It looks kind of easy, but it's actually difficult to do because our brains are wired to take care of ourselves. And so we're very self-absorbed and self-centered. And so when it comes to marketing, you really have to shift that on a moment-to-moment basis and put your attention, gear it outward toward your clients and prospects, and think about what do they care about. And so I like to show the homepage of my website, marketing-mentor.com, because this is me practicing what I preach and talking about the positioning statement on my website is from my ideal client's perspective. I am looking for people who will land here and say, build the business of your dreams without the marketing nightmares. This is exactly who I need. This is exactly what I need, right? So that's what you want your people to say when they land either on your LinkedIn profile or on your website. And the fourth and final big idea here in terms of mindset is to know that you want to keep your marketing and your business really simple. There are just way too many marketing tools out there to choose from. And what I see happening is people get paralyzed because they don't know which ones to choose, or they choose one or two and then they start to doubt themselves because it's not working immediately, because it doesn't work immediately. It takes time. Marketing takes time, and it takes consistency, and it takes persistence. And so you have to know that you have to keep it really simple and find the simple ones that work. But the best marketing tools are, as I've said before, curiosity and generosity. So you want to become a business detective, whether that means Columbo or Nancy Drew or Harriet the Spy. These are all people you could think of as you're asking your questions and cultivating relationships with curiosity and generosity. And when I say generosity, I don't mean you're giving your services away, certainly not, unless you choose. That's back to autonomy. You get to choose who you want to give them to. But generosity is really just sharing your ideas and sharing the way you think about things and being yourself. And that will attract the people who are best positioned to say, this is exactly who we need. So you want to let your marketing speak to the aspirations and the pain points of your ideal clients, as opposed to letting it speak about you. And you might say, which pain points? And so here's my list of universal pain points. No matter what they're selling or offering or trying to accomplish, they usually have these problems. They have too much to do and not enough time. How can you speak to that pain point and provide a solution to this problem for them? Or their product or service is complex and their customers are confused. That happens a lot. Or their customers are buying from the competition, whoever that is. That happens a lot. Or this happens a lot. Their website is embarrassing and they know it, so they don't want to send anyone there. So your positioning statement, if you're a web designer, especially, could be, is your website embarrassing? And they may land on that and say, oh my God, this person understands and can help us. Right? If you can articulate their pain, it's actually better than articulating the solution because they feel like you get them. Also, another universal pain point is everyone has had bad experiences, what we call flaky freelancers or unreliable creative professionals. So if all you did in your marketing is speak to the pain point of how reliable you are, how on budget you come in, how on deadline you are, that no matter the quality of your work sometimes will be enough for someone to choose you. And again, to say, this is exactly who we need. So you use curiosity and you speak to the pain points, and then you integrate everything that you learn into your marketing, and then you share it widely and freely. That's the generosity. And it is really that simple. I'll give you the practical tools momentarily, but it really is that simple. So, to bring it all together, marketing works when you know exactly who you're looking for. That's your ideal client, and it could be your niche or your niches. Plural is okay. And you know exactly where to find them. That's online and off, so that you can meet them in person and have a much stronger impact. I know that's not happening all that often these days, but we will come back to that. And then you learn what they need to hear in order to trust you, because trust is an essential component of marketing, and it takes time to build trust. So you have to be patient. And then you make what you learn they need to hear the core message of your marketing. And I like to say your content marketing and your marketing content. So your marketing content is what's on your website, for example, and your content marketing, I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly, but it is what you put out there as your content. And then, and only then, do you choose the tools that will most effectively reach these people, these specific people, with that specific message. So the simplest marketing tools are strategic networking, targeted outreach, and high quality, what I call pain point bat signal content marketing. And I'll go over each of these briefly to show you some examples. But the thing is that they don't work by themselves. They work when you use them together on one or two or three at the very most niches. But really the key to success is focus. I know a lot of people don't want to focus, don't want to alienate people, and that's why they end up being generalists. I totally get it, but I'm just telling you that the key to success is actually focus. And most people eventually focus and then look back and say, why didn't I do that sooner? And we know the answer to that question, but I'm just telling you, you can learn from other people's mistakes and focus sooner rather than later. So I'm going to give you the overview of the simplest marketing plan framework. So the first one, as I said, is strategic networking. And the idea is to find your best clients and prospects and to approach them with curiosity in real time. So for example, if your market were creative professionals, as it is for me, then everyone in this webinar could be a prospect. And this is where you should be doing your strategic networking. And maybe that means taking a picture of everybody's name so that you can follow up with them on LinkedIn afterwards and connect with them. Or it could mean doing some networking in the chat. In fact, let me take this opportunity to ask everyone to put your elevator pitch, however clear you have it, how you answer the question, what do you do, in the chat, so that we can see maybe some networking can happen in the chat already, right? You want to choose very strategically, very carefully, know who you're looking for, and then go find them online and off so you can connect with them and learn a little bit about them using questions and curiosity. Now, LinkedIn is one of the best online marketing tools for strategic networking, especially. And as Kate mentioned, I have presented for the Creative Coast before, and the previous one was all about how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. So I'm sure that one is available. Maybe it's not there yet, I'm not sure, but that one is or will be available. And the point I want to make about LinkedIn, because I'm not going to go into too much detail about it right now, but like I said about your marketing and self-promotion, your LinkedIn profile isn't really about you either. It should be about them and what they need and what you know they need in order to trust you, and only about you in the context that you can help them solve those problems. So if you look at my LinkedIn profile, and if we're not connected on LinkedIn, then I hope you will invite me to connect. But this is what my LinkedIn profile says right above the fold, though, there. If you are serious about growing your creative business, whether that means getting more or better clients or strengthening your foundation, and you need practical guidance, accountability, and a sounding board, I can help, right? So the idea is it's more about you, and it uses the word you than it is about me. If this is you, then I can help you. That is one approach, not the only approach. And there are many different approaches. There's no right approach to LinkedIn or to any of this, truthfully. But using the word you more than I is definitely one of my best tips. So how do you do that? You speak to the needs and pain points of your ideal client on your LinkedIn profile, in your About section. Beyond your actual profile, you share and you post tips and other how-to content about things that, again, you know they're struggling with on LinkedIn to get some engagement going. And you use your LinkedIn profile as your blog by publishing articles on it, because that's really good for positioning and showing a little bit more about you. And if you're a copywriter, as I know some of you are, then that is where you can show examples of your writing as well. So there's a lot you can do on LinkedIn for strategic networking. And lately, I've actually been saying that all you need is to focus on LinkedIn. So if one of the questions that will be asked later, I can anticipate it already, actually is, what's the first thing I should do? I would say, go to LinkedIn, spend time on LinkedIn, baby steps, one thing at a time. Don't try to do all the things. All right, so that was strategic networking. Targeted outreach. Okay, so this is my way of saying warm email prospecting, someone else calls it, or some people used to call it cold calling. I like the phrase targeted outreach because it is you reaching out to your ideal clients who don't know you exist yet, right? And so you're basically reaching out to them in a hyper customized way and saying, I really think I can help you, and here's why. And then, because once is not enough, you follow up with them and you stay in touch with them. And so it can be done through LinkedIn, it can be done through email, it can be done with lumpy mail as well. Here's an example of what I mean by lumpy mail. It's a mailing, snail mail, right? This is a mailing that Maria Guerrero of Germinate Creative, who specializes in nonprofits, did and sent a little packet of seeds and a nice mailer there. And she's got an excellent response to that. And she follows up with it, of course. So how do you do this targeted outreach? The short version is you do your research, right? This takes time so that you can hyper customize, super personalize your message. And then in that message, you tell them why you chose them. And I want you to be you. I say that because a lot of people think they should be someone else or be more formal or be more this or that. But I highly recommend that you be you, and that will attract people who will want to work with you. We're not trying to be everything to everyone. And as I said, you reach out more than once. You don't say, oh, I sent an email to that person and they never responded. Or I invited that person to connect and they never connected. Maybe they don't spend any time on LinkedIn. We don't know. That's why you have to repeat it more than once. And I sometimes get pushback about as the amount of repetition I recommend, because that's what works. And so the point I want to make is that repetition is essential in marketing because it speaks volumes about your consistency and your seriousness and your professionalism. And often people don't even see the first message that you send them because they're bombarded by all these messages. So you really do have to approach them from many different angles and not even be saying a different thing every single time, just repeating and emphasizing, I'm really interested in what you're doing. I really think I can help you. I would love to have a conversation. And the expectation should be that 1 or maybe 2 out of every 10 people responds positively and says, okay, great. That sounds good. Let's talk. And then the third tool is the content marketing, right? And so content marketing, as opposed to marketing content, which is what's on your website, content marketing is information that is useful to your ideal clients, and it is not about you. So if people have examples that they've done or know of that other people have done about what is content marketing that's useful information, put it in the chat so other people who may not know exactly what I'm talking about can get a sense of it. But coming back to the distinction that I made earlier about the perspective, your perspective versus your client's perspective, standard content marketing says, here's what we know all about. We know about typography. We know about grammar. They don't care about those things. They care about qualifying pain point bat signal content, which says, here's what we know you're struggling with. And that goes back to the pain points that I outlined earlier. Now, content marketing has infinite almost formats that you can use. So the ones that I am recommending, I forgot to add one here. Blogging is one, but especially guest blogging, right? So blogging on your LinkedIn profile is one, on your website or on your blog is good, except that it's hard to get people over to drive traffic to your website. That's why I like LinkedIn, because the people are already there. And even better is guest blogging. Where are your ideal clients going already that they can find you without having to find your website? That's guest blogging. The one I didn't include here is my favorite one, actually, which is an email marketing newsletter, right? That's the way you stay in touch with the people who you've decided are your ideal clients and or people who already have an experience of you and know you. You want to stay in touch with them and keep your visibility high. So an email newsletter is one of the best examples of content marketing. Podcasting is another one. It's kind of veering toward advanced content marketing because it's actually a lot of work. I can tell you that with a podcast of my own for, I think, 11 or 12 years now. It's a lot of work. You can get it down to a science. So you can have your own, or you can be a guest on other people's podcasts. People, associations, organizations are desperate, hungry for content. So don't think, why would they want me? Think, generosity. Here's what I have to offer. I'm going to offer it to the podcasts that might be a good fit where I can find and my ideal clients will hear from me. Video is also very big lately. So all different types of video that you could do, native video directly uploaded to LinkedIn. LinkedIn loves it. You can have your own YouTube channel. I have my own YouTube channel. You could do talking head videos. You can do screen share explainer videos if you only want, if you don't want anyone to see you for whatever reason, right? There's so many different ways, but ideally you want to make it relatively short because people have very short attention spans. And not finally, but one of the other best and most effective content marketing tools is speaking, right? So positioning yourself, as I am today, as an expert on a particular topic for a particular market. That is where people will come and find you and hear how you know what they're struggling with, and that making that connection, having that experience, if they can follow up with you or you can follow up with them, can lead down the road to excellent relationships. Again, building relationships is the key to marketing. And quality content is a bat signal for your ideal clients. And I want to highlight the idea of quality content because there is so much low quality, right? Bad quality content out there. But if you can figure out what quality content is, and again, it's what they care about, not what you care about, that's what will be the bat signal for your ideal clients. But wait, who are your ideal clients? You might be wondering. Well, they're the ones who value the services you provide and your specialty, if you have a specialty, and you should. And when I say value the services, what I mean is that in most markets, most clients, most prospects can't really tell the difference between really good and mediocre, but they know that they want good. So the minority in most markets is who will value the services that you provide and be ready and willing to pay for it. You should not expect everyone to value it. You should not expect everyone to pay what you need to charge. You have to be, that's why marketing is the key. You have to attract the people who value quality and who you can cultivate and let marinate, I like to say, in your content marketing so that they build trust and then know this is exactly the person who can help us. And one of the ways you do that is that you pre-qualify people through your website, right? So there's a form that they have to fill out. And it's not a very long form, but just a little friction, a little gate to get through so that basically allows them to raise their hand and say, yes, we are serious and we value what you have to offer. And you can also do that in a conversation. I often recommend, and I offer this myself, a 30-minute free mentoring session, a free discovery session, so that they can get to know you. And you can see this is your opportunity to vet them. They're vetting you, but you also have to vet them. That's how you take control of your business. And you ask the questions to sense or to find out more explicitly, does this person respect my time? Does this person understand what they're asking for? Are they looking just for a pair of hands, or are they looking for someone who's a thinker and who can be a partner? Those are all the different things that will help you decide who are the ideal clients that you want to work with, because those are really your ideal clients, the ones you want to work with, not just taking whoever happens to come along, which some people call word of mouth, as if that is the best marketing tool ever. I don't think so. That is taking whatever comes along. And then you position yourself for those ideal clients so that they say, this is exactly who we need. It really is that simple. And so then the question is, can you do it? And I just want to wrap up before we answer questions with a quote that I heard last night. This is kind of a paraphrase of a quote. I was listening to Eric Schmidt being interviewed by Reid Hoffman, who is one of the co-founders of LinkedIn. And Eric Schmidt is the former CEO of Google. And he was being interviewed on this awesome app called Masters of Scale. And he basically said, in hiring, he was talking about hiring, that the two indicators of success with a new hire, is he's looking for persistence and curiosity. And I think that applies also to self-employed people. How do you know you're going to be successful at this? If you are persistent and curious, and if you bring those tools, those qualities, those skills into your business, then you are much more likely to be successful. Oops. So the question is, where will you start? Start today. If you haven't started already, start today. And here's some suggestions. You can rethink and or revise your LinkedIn profile. You can become a business detective. Take your pick, which one? You can start researching your ideal clients, right? So baby steps, one thing at a time. Don't try to do all the things. And I've distilled it all into the Simplest Marketing Plan. So you can do 3 things here. You can buy the Simplest Marketing Plan at that link there, bit.ly/buy SMP now. Or if you don't already get my quick tips, you can sign up for the quick tips. Or you can get this PowerPoint at gettalk.at/FFF for Feast or Famine Forever. So that is what I have for you today. And Kate, I am ready to take questions if people have questions.
All right. Feel free to come off mute and ask questions.
And you're going to moderate, or should I moderate?
If people just want to come off one at a time, I'll mute people if we have overlapping, but
all right, we don't want chaos.
Yeah, I've got the screen up. So
All right, I'm going to put those links in the chat for people.
Yeah, and there's lots of chat going on.
Good.
Let's see. Well, I have a question to kick us off.
Sure.
So when you started, you said you've been being self-employed for about 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. And I think when someone starts freelancing for the first time, you get hit hard at first because you're taking whatever you can get, especially if you don't have savings, the right amount of savings you want. Mm-hmm. So I was just curious, do you have any recommendations? And that's a very personal thing, I know, but from when do you take the leap to be self-employed? Did you personally wait until you were in the right position financially to do it? Or did you have no choice and just I've got to do this and I'm going to take what I can get and learn the hard way of no, this is not the type of client I want, or this is the type of client I want. I'm just curious.
All right. Well, when I started, some people have heard this story before, but I was fired from my second job out of college and quit the first one to become a waitress because I just realized very quickly I'm unemployable. And so it's in my blood to be self-employed. Everyone in my family was always self-employed. So taking the leap for me, I was pushed, number one, and I didn't have a choice. I just knew I had to figure something out. And so, yes, what I like to say is it took me about 15 years. So the first half of my career to really figure out what my niche was and to stop taking whatever came along. It doesn't have to take anyone else 15 years. I'm here to save you some time at that. But I do think at the beginning, you do have to do everything. You have to try everything. That's the idea of your business as a lab, to practice things, to test things, to try out different ways of working, different services. And I did so many things that I hated. I was like, okay, I'm never doing that again. Never doing that again. Had no idea what I was doing that time. Totally made mistakes and learned from them. So I feel like, trying to answer your question, it's a very gradual progression, number one. But when do you know if it's time to take the leap? Usually what happens is if you're willing to work hard, number one, and build up a side business, what they call a side hustle sometimes, right? And then at a certain point, you're just working way too hard and you've got your marketing in place and you're getting more and more of the work that you want, then you sooner rather than later let go of the job, because it's when you're hungry that you're going to do what it takes.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Whoops. Got my chat right here. I thought we had somebody come off mute a second. But... Oh, someone has a question. Okay. Stacy.
Hi, Ilise.
Hey, Stacy.
Hey, I'm stalking you.
Good.
I just have a question in terms of sort of current best practices. Is there one tactic? I know you need to kind of have all of these working, but what's bringing in the most leads for you right now?
Well, okay, I'll answer for me, but then I'll answer for you because you're a little earlier in the process.
Yes, got it.
For me, speaking is my absolute best marketing tool, with the corollary of my email newsletter, right? Which is my quick tips, which is how I follow up and stay visible and help people marinate in my content. That's what works for me. For you, I would say LinkedIn, is going to be the place to start, and to cultivate and to maybe begin to create some content that speaks to the pain points of the people you want to work with, right? And then post that and kind of disseminate it on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Erin, you have a question. I think it's a little bit different from mine. Erin asks, how can I handle setting up my business? You mean getting it started, right? And getting it off the ground with family and loved ones, when family and loved ones are worried about me grabbing any income in the meantime.
Well, you have to sit down and have a talk with those family and loved ones. And then, I mean, it really depends on your relationship with them, but you just put everything you have into it and make it work because you have to. That's what I would say.
And I don't know if this is helpful or not. We run a program that we're launching this weekend actually called Make Startups. And it's about people that want to turn their side hustle into a full-time business. But one of the things that we talk about is customer discovery, and how when you're trying to figure out who your customers are and who are going to pay for your services, who your ideal customers are, you can be making money in the process, right? Like, you don't have to, one element of that is you're talking to customers actually and figuring out what they're willing to pay. But that is also can be the start of your first client. So, and you don't have to have everything perfect and in place to get going, right?
You won't.
Yeah. Can we share opinions, comments on other articles, or should we focus on writing our own?
I think, and if I assume you're talking about on LinkedIn, e.g., and I would say actually it's more effective to share your opinions and comments on other people's content and then kind of go down the rabbit hole of making sure that you're connected with everyone else who has commented on a particular post. And ideally, it's a post that speaks to the pain points of the people that you want to work with. And it's funny, I find that people feel like they need to be producing. And it's less about producing and it's more about interacting with people. So whether it's your content or someone else's content, to me, doesn't matter as much as who you're interacting with and about what.
It's a great point. Any other questions? Okay. So, Elise, I think, someone's raising their hand. I can't see you behind the chat box. Oh, Lisa. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi, Elise. I met you many years ago at AMWA conference.
Uh-huh.
I don't even remember. I think it was in New Jersey or no, it was in Pennsylvania. I don't quite remember. But anyway, great to see you again.
Thank you, Lisa.
My question is, I find that the best interactions I have with potential clients are when I can get them on the phone. And so if someone has contacted me and then I can call them and we can have a chat back and forth, it's so much more useful than emails back and forth.
Agreed.
So my question is, how can I do that more? I don't think cold calls are really done now. What would your suggestion be?
So, I mean, I do think actually the phone is coming back, and that depending on where you are in the process with a particular prospect, the ideal situation is if someone says, send me your rates or tell me how you work, or can you get me a proposal or price on X? That's the moment when you say, yes, of course, let's talk first, right? Because they're not going to talk if they don't have anything to talk about, right? And people are really doing everything just in time, basically. So I wouldn't expect to be able to get people on the phone if they're not near their moment of need. So you're essentially looking for people who are in or near their moment of need. And that's the moment to suggest a phone call, which a lot of people don't do because they, don't want to be in real time. But I really think that's also something to use your business as a lab to get better at, because it's essential to be able to have that interaction.
Yeah, I get so much information that way.
Absolutely.
It's astonishing to me how much more quickly I can get to the heart of it and possibly clinch getting a new client, rather than all the emails back and forth.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Good.
So I have another question.
Yes.
I just want to say, Gina and Kelly said text message marketing can be effective. That's a good point. My question is, have you ever, and I'm sure everyone in here has had to do this, but I'm curious about your experience with it. Have you ever had to fire a client? Meaning, I tell them, hey, this isn't working. And I'm thinking for people who are first-time freelancers and having to do this. And how did you handle that? kind of an open-ended question, but.
All right. Well, I don't remember at all, but yes, there are many situations, especially with starter clients, right? Because your starter clients, that's the ones where you're taking whatever comes along. So they're not ideal, number one. And yet people are either very attached to them or don't know how to let them go. And there are a couple different strategies. I mean, one is you just raise your prices higher than they can pay. That's one very effective strategy. Or you can sit them down and say, this is not working anymore. I'm moving on, right? It doesn't even have to be about them, but I think that it is actually very important to outgrow and let go of initial kind of what I call starter clients, because they're really never the ideal ones. So if people have, language that they use or have used to fire a client, I don't think about it as firing them, actually. Even if they're a really bad client, you just say, I'm done with this, moving on, right? And it's not personal, even if it is. But feel free to put that in the chat if you have some language that you've used that works. And actually, I'll just add one more little idea there. A foundational idea is that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to everything. And so if you go in with that idea from the very beginning, then it shouldn't be a problem to say, all right, here we are at the end. And you can make a referral, you can pass them on to someone else. But if they're really bad, you don't want to do that to the people that you know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? We've got about 12 minutes left. There's someone who's got a scuba picture, and I keep thinking it's someone raising their hand.
That's Sean.
He's waving to the camera.
That's funny.
Hi,
Okay.
it's Jean.
Jean.
And my question is, how do you get back good clients who have wandered off?
Wandered off. All right. Well, it depends on why they've wandered off. But I think you can certainly try to get them back. And two thoughts come to mind. One is you can just pitch ideas to them and say, I think you should really do this. I haven't heard from you in a while, but I saw this opportunity or I had this idea and I'd love to share it with you and do it for you. And then the other idea, where did it go? Is reach out to them and find out, you can ask, very directly what happened, right? I mean, this happens a lot when people don't stay in touch, right? You said you used the term, Jean, wandered off. And maybe that's because you didn't stay in touch with them. Out of sight is out of mind. Maybe they just forgot you existed.
I mean, lately, in some cases, it's that the business is not there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's nothing you can do about it. Of course. Of course. And the people hopefully are somewhere else. So you can follow them. And that's what LinkedIn is wonderful for, actually.